Good morning and a very warm welcome. You are watching JanataTelevision and this is the English Bulletin with me, Anustha Acharya. The top stories first. Parliament meeting called for 1 p.m. today afternoon. Government steps up security measures for the meeting. Street protest against MCC intensifying. Government beefs up security in Baneshwar area. Political parties still divided over MCC agenda. Coalition partners demand amendment before ratification. Ukraine city holds breath amid Russia's attack. At least 137 people killed in the country. And Sa's own goal gives Arsenal a dramatic win over Wolves. Gunners' comeback puts them in the driving seat for Europa. And now the news in detail. The House of Representatives meeting is all set to resume today. Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba will present the Attorney General's annual report to the Parliament as per the list of House business prepared for today. Finance Minister Janata Sharma is likely to propose deliberation on MCC at the House meeting, informed Dr. Bharatraj Gautam, General Secretary of the Parliament Secretariat. The House meeting has been called for 1 p.m. today afternoon. The government has stepped up security measures considering the street protest during the House meeting. The sister wings of ruling parties including CPN Maoist Centre and CPN Unified Socialist as well as Rashtriya Prajatantra Party are preparing to continue their agitation at areas close to the Parliament building today as well. Street protest against the US-funded Project MCC has been intensifying since the last few days. The protests have been thrown normal lives out of gear in and around the Parliament building in the capital. A report. Normally, the protesters have been intensifying the protest on days when the Parliament meetings are held. The protesters have stepped up the protest after the MCC was tabled in Parliament on February 20. Although the protesters were planning to picket the Parliament building yesterday, the police foiled their attempts. The situation turned tense after the agitating parties tried to enter the restricted areas. Clashes between the police and the protesters ensued, and some protesters, police as well as journalists were injured in the melee. Police sorted to firing water cannon to the protesters after they started pelting stones at the police personnel who were on duty. Police also had to fire tear gas shells and rubber bullets in addition to baton charges to bring the situation under control. The National Human Rights Commission has expressed concerns that the protests are getting violent in recent days. The government has beefed up security in Baneshwar area where the protests are centered. Although the Parliament meeting was scheduled to hold general discussions on MCC yesterday, the House session was postponed without holding the meeting due to the differences among the political parties. A report. The House of Representatives meeting, scheduled for Thursday, was postponed until today, citing special reason. Issuing a notice, the Parliament Secretariat informed that the House meeting has been postponed until 1 p.m. today afternoon. The prime agenda for yesterday's meeting was to hold discussion in principle of US-funded project Millennium Challenge Corporation. The meeting, however, was postponed after the meeting of Business Advisory Committee held at the Federal Parliament Building, New Baneshwar, failed to force consensus on the issue of forwarding the MCC Compact. It has been learned that Prime Minister Sher Bahadur Deuba requested the meeting to be postponed after the main opposition party CPN-UML told the government that they will be back MCC if the House Speaker Agni Prasad Sapkota is removed from his post. Meanwhile, the coalition partners CPN Maoist Centre and CPN Unified Socialist urged the government not to proceed towards theoretical discussions in Parliament to endorse the MCC. stating that a wider political consensus was lacking over the matter and the main opposition continued to obstruct the House. Both the parties called for suspending the further proceedings at the moment. Although the deadline given by the US government to endorse the MCC is fast approaching, the political party leaders, including the coalition partners, are still divided over the issue. The ruling Nepali Congress is worried that the country's reputation will be tarnished in the international community if they fail to endorse the MCC. Some fringe parties are positive towards supporting the government. However, the main opposition party, which is yet to come with an official view regarding the MCC, has blamed the differences among the ruling parties for the failure to endorse the MCC. The ruling partners, including the CPN Unified Socialist and JSP, are not in mood to endorse the MCC without amendment. The view of UML leaders Dr. Bhim Bahadur Rawal, the proposal should not be moved forward amidst the street protest against it. The government had tabled the document in the parliament on February 20 and it is required to be finalized within February 28 as per the deadline set by the US government. Ruling parties including CPN Unified Socialist and Maoist Center held discussions regarding the MCC yesterday. Maoist Chairman Pushpakamal Dahal, CPN Unified Socialist Chair Madhav Kumar Nepal and Senior Leader Jhalanath Khanal were present during the meeting held at the Parliamentary Party Office of CPN Unified Socialist at Singhadarbar. During the meeting, former Prime Minister Khanal said that his party is against endorsing the MCC in its current form. Leader Khanal further said that the CPN Unified Socialist has issued a whip to vote against the MCC if it is to be endorsed without amendment. He added that the CPN Unified Socialist was not in a mood to endorse MCC without amendment right from the beginning.
हामी सबै छलफल गर्दैछौँ हामी दुईटा पार्टीहरू जहिले सुकै पनि हामी एउटै स्ट्यान्डमा छौँ त्यो भनेको परिमार्जन बिना संशोधन बिना हामी एमसीसी पास गर्दैनौँ
Likewise, Maoist Center leader Dev Gurung said that the meeting decided to vote against the MCC in Parliament. He further said that the party will take part in discussions on MCC in Parliament and has decided to urge the Speaker to remove House obstructions.
एमसीसीको विपक्षमा मतदान गर्ने भन्ने कुरा त छँदैछ तर अब अहिले सदन अवरुद्ध भइरहेको अवस्था छ छलफल गर्ने वातावरण छैन हैन कसरी छलफल गर्ने डेमोक्रेटिक नर्म्सलाई त फलो गर्नु पर्यो हैन डेमोक्रेटिक नर्म्सलाई चाहिँ प्रक्रिया अनुसार नै छलफल गर्नु पर्यो.
The government had tabled the MCC in Parliament on February 20 for discussions. However, the ruling parties themselves are divided over the issue of endorsing the US-backed project. The ruling Maoist Center and CPN Unified Socialist have taken a stance that the MCC should not be passed in its current form. Another coalition partner, Jana Morcha Party, had stated that they will not let the MCC to be endorsed at any cost. This is Janata Bulletin. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back after the break. We continue with other national news. The government yesterday confirmed 151 new cases of coronavirus across the country. The total cases of coronavirus in the country have climbed to 976,512, while the number of active cases has dropped to 9,678. Coronavirus claimed one more lives across the country, taking the death toll to 11,931. Nepal is currently among top 57 countries that have been most affected by the pandemic. The USA tops the list with over 80.44 million confirmed cases, followed by India with more than 42.89 million cases. Coronavirus has infected more than 431.65 million people across the world and claimed over 5.94 million lives. Leaders of the Chinese Communist Party held meetings with CPN-UML Chairman KP Sharma Oli and CPN Unified Socialist Chairman Madhav Kumar Nepal yesterday. CPC's Foreign Department head Song Tao held discussions with Oli yesterday while the department's Deputy Chief Chen Zhao called on Nepal separately through video conference. The Chinese Communist Party said that the discussions were focused on Nepal-China relationship. China has shown special interest after the MCC agenda was tabled in Parliament recently. Garbage collection has resumed in Kathmandu Valley after 11 days. The locals of Sistol have cleared the roads after an agreement was reached with the Kathmandu Metropolis. The residents of Sistol had stopped the garbage truck saying that the road was not blacktopped on time. A report. Garbage collection has resumed in Kathmandu Valley after almost 11 days. Due to the lack of waste management in the valley since February 13, the locals were forced to live in a polluted environment. Garbage piled up on the footpath had caused nuisance to the passers-by. The locals of landfill site in Sistol have demanded that the Pasang-Lamu highway leading to the dumping site should be blacktopped. The locals are facing problems due to untimely blacktopping of roads. The locals had blocked the road to stop the garbage truck to draw the attention of the government. The locals have warned to block the road again if the construction is not completed within the given time. The Metropolis has been using a 6-kilometer section of Pasang-Lamu highway to transport garbage to Sistol.
जुन कुराको लागि उहाँहरूले चाहिँ आन्दोलन गर्नुभएको थियो त्यो कुरा चाहिँ हुने सुनिश्चित भएपछि उहाँहरूले चाहिँ त्यो आन्दोलन रोक्नुभयो त्यो भनेको चाहिँ तपाईको के भनेदेखि उहाँहरूले कालोपत्रे हुनुपर्ने सडकको स्तरोन्नति हुनुपर्ने कुराहरू थियो र सम्बन्धित निर्माण व्यवसायी जो छ नि त्यहाँ काम गर्ने ठेकदारले चाहिँ म काम चाहिँ अब तोकिएको समयभित्र चाहिँ म काम गरिसक्छु भन्ने चाहिँ उसको कमिटमेन्ट प्रतिबद्धता.
The locals have warned that they will again obstruct dumping of garbage if the road section is not constructed within the fixed deadline.
तपाईको त्यही त हो नि फोरै रोक्ने आन्दोलन होला र त्यसमा चाहिँ अब हाम्रो पनि निगरानीहरू सडक विभाग सम्बन्धित निकाय सडक विभागहरू पनि त्यसमा उपस्थित छ र उहाँहरूले पनि उहाँहरूलाई काममा चाहिँ लगाउने तर्फ चाहिँ उहाँहरूको पनि प्रयास हुन्छ उहाँहरूको मध्यस्थता हाम्रो पनि अब प्रयास रहन्छ ठेकदार कम्पनीलाई.
Although the garbage management has resumed for the time being, the local have warned of obstruction if the government fails to keep up the agreement. And now the news from economic front. The price of crude oil in the international market has shot up following the invasion of Ukraine by Russian forces. According to the oil price, the price of crude oil has topped $102 per barrel in the international market. The price of crude oil was $98 per barrel until yesterday morning. Once Russia attacked Ukraine, the price increased all of a sudden. Experts say that the price of crude oil is likely to further rise amid increasing tensions between Russia and Ukraine. Time for a short break here at Janata Bulletin. Stay tuned for international news. Welcome back. Now the international news. Ukraine president says 137 civilians and military personnel have been killed in the country on the first day of Russian invasion. The death toll continues to rise after the first full day of Russia's incursion into Ukraine. The Ukrainian Health Minister Viktor Lasko initially said 57 citizens were dead and another 169 people were wounded amid the fighting, the Associated Press and NBC News reported. Hours later came a grave revision upward. Ukraine's president said early Friday, local time, that 137 people had been killed and 316 were wounded. According to the reports, many of those killed appear to be the soldiers. Per the AP citing earlier figures that 40 Ukrainian soldiers were among the dead. However, there were also reports of civilians who were killed, including at least one young child. NBC News reported the figures also include medical staff. The extent of Russian casualty remained unclear. Details are emerging all the time about the ongoing attack on Ukraine. Information about the extent and toll of the fighting continues to shift. Ukrainian officials had said Russia began a widespread assault on the country early Thursday, with troops moving from the north, south, and east. Airstrikes from bombing were also reported, with threats mounting against the capital of Kiev, a city of 2.8 million people. The United Nations announced Thursday it is immediately allocating $20 million to scale up UN humanitarian operations in Ukraine following Russia's invasion. Secretary General Antonio Guterres made the announcement, saying the UN and its humanitarian partners are committed to staying and delivering to support people in Ukraine in the time of need. Regardless of who or where they are, with deaths rising, we are seeing images of fear, anguish and terror in every corner of Ukraine, the UN chief said. People, everyday innocent people, always pay the highest price. UN humanitarian chief Martin Griffiths said this $20 million from the UN Central Emergency Response Fund will support emergency operations along the contact line in eastern Donetsk and Luhansk in the other areas of the country, and will help the healthcare, shelter, food and water and sanitation to the most vulnerable people affected by the conflict. You are watching Janata Bulletin, and now the latest from the world of sports. An own goal from Wolves goalkeeper Jose Sa helped Arsenal complete a dramatic late turnaround in the pursuit of the top 4 Premier League place. For long periods, Hwang Hee-chan's early effort had looked like being decisive for the visitors. However, Arsenal substitute Nicolas Pepe revealed from Eddie Nketiah's pass towards the end of the dominant second period, in which the host had continually pressed for an equalizer. And as the clock ran down, Alexandre Lacazette's effort was inadvertently tossed into his own goal by Sa to spark wild celebration inside the Emirates Stadium. The result sees Mikel Arteta's side move up to the 5th in the table, just 1 point behind 4th placed Manchester United with 2 games in hand, while Wolves, who were hoping to further their own Champions League ambitions, sit in 7th. We are at the end of Janata Bulletin, and the headlines once again. Parliament meeting called for 1 p.m. today. Government steps up security measures for the meeting. Streets protest against MCC intensifying. Government beefs up security in Baneshwar area. Political parties still divided over MCC agenda. Coalition partners demand amendment before ratification. Ukraine city holds breath amidst Russia's attack. At least 137 people killed in the country on first day. And Sa's own goal gives Arsenal a dramatic win over Wolves. Gunners' comeback puts them in the driving seat for Europe. And that's all from the English News Desk for today. You can follow Janata Television and our programs on various social media platforms, including on our website janatasamachar.com. Keep watching Janata Television. Namaste.